What's up, everybody? It's Andrew Nemani, your host of Permission to Shine podcast. Welcome back. We have a special treat for you today. I recently went on a trip to Havana, Cuba, and this trip taught me something really special. I got to go with a group of 5 other guys led by Sanjeev Chopra and Yusuf Al-Rahim, some friends, got to meet some new friends as well. And what this trip taught me is a very valuable lesson. A trip isn't just about the time that you spend in Cuba, for instance. It's a lot about the buildup, dare I say, foreplay. The group chat was popping before the trip, right? The anticipation that you have for months leading up to the trip. And then you have the actual trip itself, which is amazing. But you also have a lot of problems that come up, a lot of stress that can arise. And I love those things because when things start to go wrong, it's usually when opportunity presents itself. And then you have after the trip, right? Kind of like the come down. And then we're all like FaceTiming afterwards. And, when Sanjeev's smoking a cigar, he FaceTimes me and he's like, Andrew, I'm thinking about you, brother. We got these cigars together. It's a horrible accent, by the way. And I'm sorry if that was disrespectful because it was so bad. But you get my point. I love that a trip is so much more than just the time you spend together on the trip. It's about the journey and it's about the memories you have forever. And I love it. When Sanjeev came back into America, the customs agent said, "Hi, do you have anything to declare?" And he said, "Yes, sir. Lifetime memories." And that is exactly how the Cuba trip went. Leading up to this trip, I was in New York City and I went to an Uncharted event. It's a group of entrepreneurs network led by Noah Friedman. And thanks to my friend Noah Berkson, I got invited to this event on the Upper East Side. We went. It was a really cool kind of dinner. And I met a woman named Lance Pierce. And she said, "Oh my God, you're going to Cuba this weekend. I've got a friend down there, Andres Levin." And not thinking much of it, I show up. And it turns out Andres is a Grammy-winning musician, producer, songwriter, and he also co-founded a hotel in the heart of Havana, Cuba. This man totally made our trip a huge success. The hotel is Tribe Caribe. It's spelled Tribe space Caribe. It's a 100-year-old building that they restored with all Cuban artifacts and art. It's an 11-room boutique hotel with a very bustling cafe. They have a recording studio. If you're familiar with Soho House, it's kind of like that. And let me tell you, this place is inspiring. Like you walk in and you just want to do something creative. It's got a rooftop with some of the best views in all of Havana. And this guy is doing something very, very special for Cuba. He's produced with the likes of John Legend, Jon Batiste, Tina Turner. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mick Jagger, he hosted in Cuba. So Andres, you are an absolute legend. 19 Grammy nominations and 1 Grammy, which I think speaks for itself. I can't wait for you guys to dive into this incredible story and hear exactly what he's doing for the Cuban people. Please make sure that you hit the follow button, please. It will help us continue to get the best guest. I've cherished and value your guys' time so much. If you enjoy this, let me know who else you want to see. You can reach out, Andrew at permissiontoshine.org. And if you really love it, make sure you share it with somebody that you hold dear to your heart. All right, I'm Andrew Nemani. This is my conversation with Andres Levin. Let's get into it.
How would you kind of define your relationship with Havana and Cuba?
Oh man, it's definitely a love affair, but I had that with New York and Mexico City, but this is the one. I've been coming here since 1998, making movies, making records, and most recently, we've developed this property, this boutique hotel. That's an art music hotel in this neighborhood, which is, I coined the Harlem of Havana because of its musical heritage. So,
where have you lived? You've lived like all over.
Was born in Venezuela of Argentine parents, German grandparents, grew up in North Carolina, then moved to Bahia in Brazil, then moved to New York, where I lived for 35 years, and kind of still a New Yorker, Mexico City, and Havana.
So what was it about Cuba that just like grabbed you so hard?
I think, living in Manhattan and then coming here, obviously first the music, the culture, I think it's one of the most interesting cities in the world. The architecture, the social, political kind of chaos, but usually the culture and the people and, the idea of kind of happiness, like when you live in Soho and your values are XYZ, and then you come here and you can be happy with much less in a way, and I feel like here I'm able to make a difference to a lot of more people than I can in New York, and so it's a combination, and I'm so close. It's like 40 minutes from Miami by flight, so.
I don't think people realize how easy it is to come to Cuba.
I mean, first, that's my biggest challenge, is to remind everyone that's legal, that it's safe, that it's cool. And it's probably, for most of my friends, one of the most interesting, you can probably attest to that, interesting trips of their life, and we're open for business, and my relationship to hospitality is that I'm doing this not only for my guests, but for the Cuban people that benefit from the tourism. Tourism keeps people alive here, because salaries are shit, and the private sector is what keeps families eating and cars moving, and so it's a very important piece of the sustainability of a Cuban family.
Literally, it's like get a visa online for $80.
Exactly.
Say you're helping the Cuban people, which you are, because you're going to come and stay at their hotels and
exactly.
use them as drivers and come.
Yeah, I mean, you still need to have a reason, but the reason is support of the Cuban people, which basically, the minute you get on a private car, stay in a private hotel, eat at a private restaurant, then you're already compliant to the OFAC law. The one thing you can't do is stay at a government hotel or get involved with the government directly. So, but who wants to do that anyway?
That's true, man. That's true. When did music first start to grab you?
Oh my God, man, that's crazy, because so I was born in Venezuela. My father is a scientist, animal behaviorist, like kind of a wild scientist. And he also made electronic experimental music. So my house was in the 70s was a recording studio, and I was sometimes allowed in there when they weren't smoking too much weed. So when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, I had my first, I can show you a picture of my room when I was 8 years old with all the equipment that my dad would lend me. So I started playing guitar, at 8, 9. Then I went to North Carolina and really got into music. Came back, was in a million bands, and then I got, went to school at Juilliard and Berkeley. I got, scholarships to go there, and that was my trampoline back to New York. I went to Berkeley for a year and Juilliard for a year.
Oh, cool.
And then I just started producing, started working at the time, my mentor was Nile Rodgers, so
that helps.
I made
school
like 9 albums in the first year with him, from the B-52s to Diana Ross, to the last Chic record. I was doing all the programming, and so I dropped out of school. It was either take another composition class or go in the studio with Omar Hakim and the Vaughan brothers. And I was like, hard decision there, And so I just stayed in New York, and started my career as a producer there.
Dude, that's so sick. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
What makes you happiest, like when it comes to all of the music stuff? Is there something that you can point to as like, man, that is when I'm absolutely at my happiest?
It's a good question. I mean, she would know, my producer, but I think I've probably worn every single hat in the music business. Been a band leader, a composer, I've done advertising, I've been a manager, road manager, label person, music supervisor, compose for film, advertising. I do sound art as well. So I think it's not like if I just did film music and I did movie after movie, that would be kind of not my idea of a happiness, even though I love it. I like jumping around, so like I'll go on the road, then I'll do a sound art piece for a museum, then I'll come back and work with a bunch of young artists in Cuba. I just finished my album that I love to play for you. So,
yes, man, please.
The birth of a song, like the creative studio part is my favorite, where you don't know what's going to happen, and you're just kind of like creating. It's like making a painting. So, but I love playing live, and I love kind of sharing my knowledge with young people as well. And just, taking the piss, hanging out, and, making jokes, a little bit about that.
Dude, you got this dark humor, man. You like come out of left field. I'm like, oh, stay on your toes.
It's sometimes it backfires, like when, like at immigration, for example. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a fun place to try it out.
Okay. Get the fuck back to your country.
Right. Literally, dude. It's so cool to me though, man. Like we got introduced through a mutual friend in New York,
Lance Pierce.
Yes, thank you, Lon.
But
Appreciate you so much. And she's like, oh, I just got this like friend in Cuba. I had no idea. And so you link up, you think you're going to come hang out with like 6 29-year-olds. And then instead it's a crew of, Sanjeev Chopra is 75 and my friend Yusuf, and he's a doctor in Hawaii, really diverse group. And I just had no idea how much of a multi-talent you were going to be, man. And I'm just like so impressed with how you're bringing, like, I don't know if you want to call it like Latin America or the Caribbean, like together in such a beautiful, unique way, and like the Cuban people to me are so full of life. They're so kind. They're so friendly. Everyone you pass wants to say hi and shake your hand, which I think is like so beautiful, man. And something I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a country that with a lot of need, but the human capital is incredible and the education is great. And, building what we built here, which we can talk about a little bit more, but, it's in a way like just making music wasn't enough for me. Like I've done, I don't know, 300 records. I don't know. There's hundreds of records and the awards are great. I feel like as an expansion of my potential as a human and as an artist, it involves putting people together and putting these kind of projects together that involve a neighborhood and involve a culture and hospitality is kind of an extension of production because you're creating an experience for people that's benefiting not only them, but like I'm repeating myself now, but so it's not like my side hustle, the hotel is really an extension of my personality because I've been hosting people in Cuba way before having the hotel, like from Mick Jagger to, I won't drop more names. Sorry.
No,
Childish Gambino and I think Susan Sarandon.
No, please.
So now with the hotel and with the concept, which is Tribe Caribe, which is really a content concept by which I'm trying to tie together the missing links of Caribbean cultures. So like what happens when you mix Jamaica with Colombia, with Venezuela and Cuba and Haiti, like on the music level, on the art level, on the food level, on the culture level. And we're trying to make our location here in Cuba, that has the same name, Tribe Caribe, be a destination for like-minded culture freaks that want to engage in that conversation, So it's really cool. It's like the hotel is called Tribe Caribe.
Spell it?
Tribe.
Tribe.
Right behind you. Tribe. Caribe. Notice that the Ribe repeats on both words. It's pretty clever. So Tribe Caribe, y'all.
Check it out. I was at a tobacco factory and they said that the government takes 90% of their product and then they get to keep 10%. Is that pretty common across most businesses?
I didn't know that. I mean, keep 10%. I mean, the government, they work for the government, so
like they just take 90% of their harvest every year. That's
the tobacco,
crazy.
the
tobacco plants.
Yeah, I mean, everything is belongs to the government here. I mean, there's the private sector. Luckily, in the last 10 years has evolved dramatically. You start to see restaurants and bars and like you're able to start a small company or a manicure or pedicure. Like this was not, you had to do it in the black market or illegally up until, 10 years ago, more or less. So things are getting better very slowly. But it's a crumbling, idea. It seemed like a good idea back then, but it's impossible for this country to sustain itself. I mean, they're importing sugar. At one point, they were the number one sugar producer in the world, So, but the only way that
they stay so strong, though, man. Yeah. Like nobody seems like that defeated or like feeling sorry for them.
It's very different than other third world countries, in that respect. I mean, I don't know what it is. Must be the water, but Cubans, man. Even in New York, you go to a restaurant, you can tell who the Cuban is behind the kitchen because it's like everyone's boss. Like 6 months later,
they're in charge.
Yeah, the little Fidel inside of them, I guess, right?
Kind of beautiful too. Would you say? Kind of beautifful too. Would you say?
If you're the boss, yeah.
No, the ladies, man.
Oh, the ladies, yeah, and the guys. I mean, I'm into girls, but I respect beauty at both sides, right, Glenda?
As this girl sitting right here.
So it's a beautiful country, and again, I lived in Bahia.
Where's that at?
In Brazil. And the interesting thing is that Cuba has maintained its African roots, you know, like very alive. You see, just in this neighborhood, 10-year-old kids practicing Yoruba, Afro-Cuban religion and drumming and dancing. And it's been abolished even in Nigeria. It's illegal to practice their own religion in Nigeria. So the two places where it's still alive is in Bahia, in Brazil, and in Cuba. So it's a very complex cultural fiber here, you know, very porous. Porous, can you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that porosa? Yeah, like, you know, it's not just what you see. There's a lot of layers. It will take you about 10 trips to start to understand what's going on here. So,
well, I'm in it to win it, man.
Yeah.
I hope we get to that 10.
Absolutely.
You definitely are going to help make that happen. Okay, so you've produced with like the coolest people in the world, musicians-wise.
Yeah.
And you end up winning a Grammy.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Ironically, I've been nominated 19 times and won once. And the one time I didn't go was when I won.
Shut up.
I swear to God. So I'm never going again. It was for a musical. I produced the soundtrack of In the Heights with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I was like, there's no way we're going to win it. And I had to go all the way to Las Vegas, you know, get the suit, you know, I had to gain a little weight. So I'm like, get another suit, you know, fuck it, I'm going to stay home. So, but hey, there it is. It's sitting out there on the piano and nobody believes it. It's like, what's dude living in Cayo West on the Centro Havana with a Grammy when he could be in New York? I mean, there's people think if you have a Grammy, like your life is set for life. And
how did it feel to win it?
I mean, it felt after 19 times, it felt pretty good. After 19 nominations.
Was your dad around?
He wasn't there, but he was around.
He's alive.
He doesn't care about that stuff. He's
Really?
like, your music sucks. You should do more experimental stuff. Why is the snare on the 2 and 4? Why are you doing all this pop music? You should make some art, you know, not commercial music, but in a nice way. So he would be like my filter, like, you know, the industry is like praising all these amazing, you know, well-crafted records. And he's like, why is the snare always on the 2 and 4? Like, why don't you try something different? So
It keeps you humble.
yeah, I guess humble is a good word. But he does like really weird music. Like you won't even, sometimes I don't even understand his music. So he's still at 85 recording every single day with his headphones. He can barely see, and it's just sitting there, listen to this. I'm like, great dad, keep it up, you know. Great guy. But it's a good reference to keeping it weird. So
who were you most proud to call when you got the award?
Well, I called my mother, who was with us then, and yeah, that's it.
Was she stoked?
Yeah, she was like, "What's that?" No, of course she was stoked. I mean, you know, like I love the praise, but I like to work better. You know, I mean, it's amazing. It's a great. I mean, the industry, the Academy. Thank you. I'd love to get another 5 Grammys and an Oscar and a Nobel Prize and everything, but it's not what motivates me as much as you know, like this talent show that we do, and you see like all these 18-year-old kids, you know, playing live for the first time. And so, like I said, you know, part of the reason I'm here is and not living the life of a lot of my peers in New York or LA is because I think what pushes my buttons is a little bit more humanitarian in a way. So
Tell us about the talent show.
So I don't know if we described the setup here, but we have this beautiful building that we turned into an 11-room hotel, which houses a gallery, black box theater that we use for art and TED salons and conferences. But this is last year we started, you know, found that there was very little opportunity for new artists in Cuba. So we had an open call for a talent show on Instagram, and like 40 kids showed up. Out of which, you know, 20 competed, and out of which 8 won. Amazing songwriters. So the winners would get to record a song with me. So in a few weeks, the first album of the 2 seasons will be out on Apple Music and Spotify. These are kids that, you know, never recorded before. Some of them had never played live, but the songwriting is amazing. So we're, in a way, serving as a bit of a trampoline to support new voices from Cuba. So it's super exciting.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably not even doing it justice, like how cool this space is. When I showed up last night and you gave us a tour of the place, my mind was blown, man.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us kind of about like the details. Paint the scene, man. Like, a lot of people are listening to this.
Yeah.
You know, they're not watching it probably. They're listening in their car.
Right.
If you are, hi, thank you for listening.
Hi, be careful.
And come to Cuba.
And come to Cuba.
But like, paint where we're at right now.
So, short version, we're in Havana, which is kind of divided in different neighborhoods. So we're in Centro Havana, which is right in the heart of the city, but ironically is one of the least developed parts of the city as far as the private sector. So we're like the only hotel in this entire area. There's like Airbnbs and houses and rooms, but certainly the only boutique, kind of slightly high-end boutique hotel. And within Centro Havana, we're in the next quadrant, which is Cayo Hueso, which is also probably historically the most musical neighborhood in the entire country, because just on the street you have decades of artists since the 40s, 50s that were born, rehearsed here, performed here. Omar Portuondo from Buena Vista was born across the street. Los Van Van, I mean, some people might know these names. Chano Pozo, and even Pedrito Martinez, who's still alive, who worked with me in my band at Wawena for a while. He was born across the street from the hotel. So we're celebrating the heritage of the neighborhood. And anyway, restored this 100-year-old building into respecting the facade, or respecting the architectural beauty and eclecticness of the building into an 11-room hotel, which was crazy. We did this in me and my partner, Chris Cornell, 3.5 years in restoration in the middle of COVID. Like, I mean, if construction is hard anywhere in Cuba, you can imagine like the bureaucracy and the materials, and in the middle of COVID. So it was like an incredible feat. Opened 2 years ago, and yeah, we're like cooking with gas here, I mean, navigating the issue that most people don't think they can come here, which is, we're constantly, thanks to press and word of mouth and things like this, you get to at least wake people's interest in coming here. But
I've been in a couple cool features, right? Travel and leisure.
Travel and leisure. Condé Nast Travel comes out in November. Forbes is coming in a couple weeks. NPR did a thing on my album, but mentions the property as well. CNN and the London Times, or the Financial Times.
Okay. And I see why, man. Like, the rooftop overlooks all of Havana and like the ocean. It's insanely beautiful.
Yeah.
The showers are like these immaculate glass paned beauties.
Yeah, and we're very proud because we did, except for like the shower head that we have to bring in, everything is sourced locally. All the furniture is, restored. There's over 100 chandeliers. My partner was really like the person that was spearheading the design and the restoration detail, but the amount of detail, and it functions as a gallery, the entire hotel. So we're constantly rotating the artwork, and this next group of pieces are going to include Haitian and Dominican and Puerto Rican artists, as well as Cuban. So this idea of the Caribbean, the Tribe Caribe concepts, is on the walls, it's in the music, it's in the food, so it's a very immersive concept and experience. And I guess, I think what makes us different from everyone else is that, like my personal access to the art world and their organic farming, and, so the guests, if they're interested in anything in particular, we probably know someone in that space personally that they could meet and converse and potentially do something together, So that's, another thing that I did here that I'm very proud of. I organized the first TED Talks, TEDx Havana, in 14 and 15. 3,000 people, National Theater, 20 speakers. We brought a robot from the States to talk about human connection. It was incredible, and I still have the license, and we're doing the TED salons now in the hotel. So it's just a way to connect people and connect the stories.
It's so cool, man.
So tourism is not like you just come in and go into the nice restaurants, which you are too, but you have an opportunity to open your window and just see the real Havana.
It's like a Soho house with even more history and character.
Exactly. Yeah. We'd love to, host those type of organizations. So we get
a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So what else? Yeah, the tiles are 60% original. All the doors on the inside are the original. They're 100-year-old doors,
Steve was geeking out on the doors.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve's done construction in-house.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Dude, those doors are insane.
It has a, cage elevator that was broken for over 40 years that we managed to restore. So
It's in one of your music videos, right?
it's in most of my music videos.
What's the one that we watched last night?
Well, we saw two. The one Manhattan with Jon Batiste.
That's the one that's in the hotel, like the shots in the elevator.
No, that's
So sick.
the black and white.
Yes.
That's Manteca, which is a song about this neighborhood. Yeah, we shot a lot of it there, and we shoot a lot of stuff there, and other people shoot stuff there too.
Like, dude, I need to do like headshots or something, man. Like, it just inspires me.
Yeah, man. I mean, maybe we could take the camera and do a little quick tour if you have time.
Let's do that.
I mean, you're going to the airport in 10 minutes.
I know. All right.
This guy, man, it's raining outside. His flight got canceled. He's like, I'm honored that you made the time for us.
Dude, when we thought that we weren't going to be able to do it, my heart sunk a little bit.
I know. I was like, dude, it's raining.
It's like, the city shuts down, it's raining. I mean, I don't give a shit. We're doing this.
Yeah. No, but literally, thankfully, it stopped. But if it would have kept raining, like the street, it's like
It like floods?
it's a river. Yeah. So which would have been fun too.
Yeah, man.
See you float down the.
Dude, it's like, I thought about stressing about it, right? Like, my flight cancels. I have a huge meeting tomorrow morning I have to get back for. And it's like, why stress?
Well, you're getting into the Havana mood. That's how every day is like that, right, guys? It's like you don't know what's gonna happen.
And you always, like, you look back on previous situations that you stressed about, and you're always like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, why did I waste my energy? So I could have rolled it this morning to breakfast, all fucking stressed and whatever. It's like, no, like, don't go in this moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the things that happens here is like, no matter what, shit gets fixed, like not everything, but there's this is very positive, resilient attitude that, I mean, just look at the cars. I mean, these cars have been, since the 50s, they're still rolling. I mean, in America, people just throw stuff out the minute it breaks, Here, you fix it. I mean, people are recycling Ziploc bags, like it's obviously there's a necessity, but there's this intelligence that's innate in the survival of life in Cuba that allows you to know how to fix your things as opposed to throwing it out and getting a new one,
When you think about the best work that you've done, what are kind of like the common themes amongst those projects?
On the music side?
Everything, man. Like the hotel or movies or songs or relationships you form.
It's a hard question.
It is, but I'm really curious what you find that...
Well, I would say excellence.
But like, what are those colors? Is it like the fact that you like were just in a good mood that day, or the fact that there was adversity, or the fact that you had coffee that morning? Like the big or small things that you find to be kind of threaded.
I mean, usually I have a lot of fun doing, like I'm joking around all the time, for better or for worse.
I'm offended. You haven't been joking enough here.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know who's watching. I might have people I know me watching.
Just kidding, man.
I think, on the music field, it's always about pushing the envelope and creating a sound or a fusion, a mixture of things, kind of an alchemy element, where I think that would be a good word to describe my work in general, my good and bad work. But I love to mix things that normally don't go together. So in hospitality, I mean, aside from having a great location, the fact that we're mixing the art with the neighborhood, with both mine and my partner's passion. It's not like a business; it's a passion project and a business. But it's a very kind of full experience once we finish. My favorite albums have been the ones I've recorded in the street in Nigeria or in Brazil, or when half of the band didn't show up and we ended up doing something else. But when it comes to my music, it's always there's a bit of suffering, like finishing things and knowing that that's it and nobody's going to be able to change it and it lives there forever, so there's always, every artist has that, I think, of, there's a suffering in the process, the creative process, that brings out the best in you in a way,
And then you've worked with incredible people, John Legend, like you said, Nile Rodgers was your mentor, Childish Gambino.
Crazy. Like when I moved to New York, like I said, I quickly applied to 30 studios, and the one that said, yeah, you can be our little coffee boy, was where Nile Rodgers and Laurie Anderson and Lou Reed were working. So a month later, I'm at the studio with these guys, where it would have taken me 3 years in any of the other 29 studios. And immediately after working, I was working on the Nile and the Arda Lindsay, kind of Lou Reed world, was much more experimental. But I went into R&B. So my first 5 albums as a producer were Chaka Khan, Tina Turner, Gladys Knight, CeCe Peniston. Then I went to Brazil and started producing a bunch of Brazilian records with Gaetano Veloso, Carlinhos Brown, Marisa Monte. Then I went back to my roots and produced all these Latin rock records, you know. And the sum of all these things is what generated my band, Yerba Buena, which is a fusion of African and Caribbean music. So we toured for 8+ years. And then so I would just get calls from the D'Angelos to you know, Lin-Manuel, you know, like who called me because he was a fan of the band, you know. So
Have you noticed any common traits amongst those people?
I mean, they're all amazing, you know. I've done some shitty albums.
I need more than that. Amazing doesn't cut it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They're so different. I mean, I would say I gravitate towards, you know, interesting, different type of artists, you know, but it's usually them picking me than me picking them, you know. So it's too many people to come. I would have to think about that. You know, there's bands, rock bands, all kinds of, you know. I mean, yeah, I guess you could put Wynton Marsalis, Childish Gambino, Natalie Merchant, now you could put all these amazing artists in one box of excellence, you know. But musically, they're very different. So,
Andres, I'm mega inspired by what you and Chris and everybody are doing here, man. Like, thank you for having us. You totally touched our group's heart. To my Cuban brothers that I made this trip, and Sanjeev, thank you for bringing us to Cuba. Andres, thank you for showing me this. I mean, I'm mega inspired, man.
I hope you come back soon.
Most definitely. I'm bringing everyone.
You'll see when you go back, when you step back into America, you'll start to see things differently. You know, Cuba has that effect the first time of, you know, your perception of, you know, it really stays with you for at least a few weeks every time you come here.
So I'm excited to continue this.
Yeah, I'll see you in LA or New York or here.
Yeah. All right. So bless you, brother. Thank you, man.